So here we are to our June's storytelling session, the Sunday storytelling session. I am Sneha Bakkal from Birth Alive. I'm Bhumika, and I believe in supporting parents in their pregnancies, labor, and birth. My children's birth experience got me uh, to this profession, and I'm so glad that with each and every birth I attend, I learn and I share a very special bond with the parents. And today, my guest is my very, very special friend, my mentor, who has shifted the way I look into births now. And she is Tapasya Kulkarni, a traditional midwife. She is a doting mother of two twins, of twins. And she has an amazing she's an amazing mother for say, and she travels a lot, and today she's going to share her birth story with us. So Tapasya, welcome. Welcome
Thank
to
you
my
so
favorite.
much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha, and thank you for inviting me in this special space you have created. I must congratulate you on like you're carrying on these birth story circles every month, and it's really amazing. I've listened to other stories and they were really great. So yeah, I will just start by saying that I try to be a great mother. I'm not, but yeah, the journey started long back. The journey started, I think, 5, 6, 7 years ago. We were married for almost 5 years when we started thinking about having a family, and I was very like that is my personality. Whatever I do with a lot of research preparation and making my mind into it, putting my heart to it. So motherhood journey was something very much similar to what I am, how I do things. So I start to read about birth and what I'm getting into and conscious conception, etc. And as the luck would have it, we were in California, Monterey. It's a small town, 90 kilometers away from San Francisco. And because my husband is in Indian Foreign Services, we keep moving countries, and now we are going to Sri Lanka. But anyway, sorry for digressing. So I was there, and luckily I came across a pamphlet in a public library where I used to visit frequently. That there is a Meet Your Doula program, and I got curious. What is this? And they had written a little bit about if you are curious about natural birth and doula is your birth companion, this and that. So I said, oh, this is looking interesting. And I was anyway thinking about, shall we start trying in like 3 months, 6 months? I want to start on my motherhood journey. And I stumbled upon it and I just went in. I was very naive. I didn't know what birth looks like. Like most of us when we are new mothers, when we start. And in that program, I got to know so many things because luckily they had an OB and a midwife on the podium, and both of them were talking, and there were doulas, and the midwife was explaining how things are done in a midwifery model, and the OB was explaining how it is done in their model. But again, that doctor was very friendly with this whole midwifery and doula concept and was much into natural birth. There are few doctors like that, and we recently found one. So so I got to know, oh, there is someone called a doula, there is something called a midwife, there is something called natural birth, and there is a difference between normal delivery and a natural birth. That was a shocker to me because who knows? Who knew? Normal delivery is a normal delivery and cesarean is a cesarean. What's there to, differentiate? And then I got to know, oh, undisturbed birth, something like, midwifery care. It sounded so not, I would say very familiar, but it sounded so resonating that, oh, okay, this is how the birth should look like. And this is how a women birth for ages. And then I really started reading about doulas and midwives, and the first book I got was childbirth. What was Ina McGaskin's Guide to Childbirth? And there I came to know about all this, and I was fascinated. I was completely fascinated with this world. Then I made an effort to meet that doula who was conducting this whole thing. She was the president of Monterey Birth Network, and I had a talk with her, and she had had 4 kids of her own, and fifth was born just before my twins were born. So she was all into birth world, and uh, wonderful person. So she talked me into this, come to our meetings and let's know what it is. Something like what we are having now, right now, birth circles, birth story circle. I attended some birth story circles again with those people, and I totally resonated. I was like, okay, this is what I want to look into. There was another thing into my conscious conception journey was, before I conceived, I was praying every day consciously to bring me, the Tejasvi, what we call in Marathi or Hindi, is like I wanted some luminous souls to come to me, and that's what I was praying for every day in my prayers. And an interesting aspect to it was, I was having this unstoppable craving urge to put my hands in soil, and I was not able to understand why, because I was always born and brought up in a very urban setting, and although we had a big garden, and I was I was there in soil all my childhood, but why suddenly I just want to put my hands in the soil all the time? So, and we had a backyard, and I was going to farmers market. There is a very we also have farmers market in India, but we don't hype them so much. We don't glorify them. Actually, they should be glorified. And there I met farmers who were into organic farming. So obviously these people whom I was meeting, they were there because, sustainable living, organic farming, midwifery, natural birth, everything is so linked. So I was coming across again and again with the same people. And that was something interesting to me. And then I got into talking. I met someone who was selling earthworms. Earthworms भी कोई बेचने की चीज है. I mean, I was like, yeah, they're selling it, and I was just curious. I went there, and they were like, yeah, we sell it so that you can make your vermicompost. Like, yeah, okay, I will do that. And it's just like, things were clicking. I bought half a kilo earthworms and started composting, and raised my beds for vegetables, and eventually got a bumper crop of peas and tomatoes, and the summer crops in California. So it was all in sync, that on one side I'm praying for the divine to send send a soul to me, because I wanted to be a mother, and I was always clear that as parents we are just the receivers of that soul, and we can just bring them into this world, raise them, and just leave them, because they are coming from way above. I don't have what do I don't own them or something. Fatima, can you just mute yourself? Okay. So so that's what was happening. And finally, eventually we conceived. Even the moment of conception, I was very, very clear that, okay, I am going to conceive today. It was like really.
For Jero key. Remo is coming that side. Where is the key?
How do I mute participants? Okay. I think. Okay, they're muted. So then when I conceived, I was very conscious that what I was eating, what I was putting in my mouth, because 6 months before conception, I had attended a preconception session where, they talked about toxins in the home environment. So I was slowly switching to natural products in for cleaning and more natural living and organic eating. Everything was just falling in place by some divine design. I never thought I would be a person who was reading the ingredients, even on a soap, on a shampoo, on everything, and researching about it and making out what a toxin product is and what is not and what I could switch to. It was all new to me. I was never such kind of a person, and home birth was never in my dreams. I was a public servant before, and as a public servant in India, you're always hammered that institutional birth is the best thing. And as I was in district administration, although it was not my job, but every one of the responsibilities of district administration is making sure that people are birthing in the hospitals and stuff like that. We all know about it. So I was somebody like that. And this was a completely new shift, because when I became pregnant, I started to think about these things in a different manner. Because before that, I was thinking, yeah, everybody goes to the hospital, we have babies in hospitals, and that's all. That's it. And that's how we live. We consume these products, and because they are authorized by some agency, so that they could be sold under a product name, etc. These agencies are making sure that they are totally safe for our consumption. But that is not the case. I was getting conscious about all this very newly in my life. At almost 29 years of my age, I was kind of getting new realizations every day. So when I conceived, even then, I didn't have to take a pregnancy test. I just knew I conceived. I was swimming every day, and that's what I continued throughout my pregnancy. We used to live in a hilltop, and I used to cycle almost 3-4 kilometers for the swimming pool, where the swimming pool and farmers market and the city center was. It was a small town, but very scattered and on the shores of Pacific Ocean. It was really beautiful. So I was cycling my way to and fro, and towards way back, it was very steep slope. So we used to take a bus, and that bus had carriers for cycles in the back. So I used to lift my bicycle, put it in the carrier, ride the bus, and go to the stop and get my bike back. And so I was doing all that till 5th month of pregnancy. So by 4th month, we didn't get any ultrasound till 16 weeks, because I was very clear that I did not want any ultrasound until it was really needed. Although now my understanding is different, but even then I kind of knew that ultrasounds were not necessary. So we come to India for home leave. We, diplomats get something called a home leave. And once in a 3 years, government pays us to, visit family in India. So we were on that. So we came home, and that's when I decided, let's meet a doctor. Let's take an ultrasound, because in USA it was too much for me. Everything was new, and you need insurance for everything. Even for an ultrasound, they charge so much that you cannot pay it out of pocket. It's totally different in India. It's things are cheaper, and I thought maybe Indian doctors would be more familiar and more friendly towards me. So I hadn't even consulted any doctor by that time. So at 16 weeks, we come to India, we get our appointment, and we get our first ultrasound, and there are 2 heartbeats. Like, there is some mistake, you check again, because the radiologist told me there are 2 heartbeats. And I was just spellbound. Like, I didn't know what to say. My husband was really happy, and he said, that means there are 2 babies. And he said, yes. And I'm like, no, it's not true. I panicked. I literally panicked at the news of having twins. There was a reason for it. My best friend had twins, and only one of the twins survived, and it was also a premature delivery. So she ended with a baby in an ICU for 3 months. So it was pretty traumatic for her, and she had shared that story just 6 months before I conceived. So now here I am having twins, and I don't know what to do. The first thing I do is, first thing you do is go to the doctor and talk. And doctor was like, yeah, you're having twins, congratulations, this and that. And we had done a blood test, etc. And she said, okay, you said you're healthy, you're into healthy living, you're eating all this organic stuff and this and that. What is happening to your hemoglobin? Why is it 9? It needs to increase, so you need to take iron pills and this and that. And I was like, but I feel fine. What happens if it is 9? I didn't know all this, but still I was questioning. The most, what I feel is, when we are pregnant for the first time and we are going through the pregnancy, we are kind of going it with so much unconsciousness that we are just going through it. We are not asking questions. We are just, I think we are kind of under a spell. you know we just don't open our eyes and mind, and we just go through. But thankfully, something of asking questions was there in me. So I was asking questions. So I said, I told, I asked the OBGYN that obviously I'm going to birth in USA, and I want to have a home birth, because by that time I had, attending all these doula meets in this wonderful circle of women. And I was very clear that I wanted a home birth. And the doctor said, with twins, I don't know if it is going to possible for you to have a home birth. And if you stay in India, I will take good care of you. And by 8th month, you will be so heavy, you will be put on bed rest, and we'll find a good day, an auspicious day, and we'll do a C-section. And that was like, why? Why are you saying we'll have a C-section? And she said, because that's what we do with, like, twin pregnancy is a high risk pregnancy. We cannot take chances, and you don't pin your hopes too much on natural birth. These were her words, that don't pin your hopes too much on a natural birth. And it doesn't happen with twins generally. And but in my head, what was going on is, 3 of my mommies had twins. My Mossy had twins, only, out of only one survived. That was a tragic story. But I had a history of twins in my family, and most of them were now normal births, although in hospitals. And aunt of my mother, she had birthed twins at home. And when the doctor is telling me this, and my head is saying, no, this is not true. This is not true. And so I decided I'm going to go back. Although my family, my mother, my brother, all wanted me to stay in India for having my babies. But I was very clear that I wanted my husband to be there. And I was very much in love with my lifestyle in California, eating all the fresh things from my yard, and visiting farmers market regularly, and my swimming, and my cycling, and my beach, and my doula and midwife circle, and all that. So I come back. I write to my midwives. The first thing I write them is, I want a home birth. I don't know, like, although it's twins, I want a home birth. And the reply was, sorry, we cannot help you, because in California, it's not legal for licensed midwives to to care for breech and twin deliveries at home. So we won't be able to help you, and you cannot birth in our birth center either, because it's not allowed for our birth center. We just accept only very low risk singleton pregnant women. And that's when I came to know, okay, midwives are of different types. My doula told me, see, if they don't want to take you, it's fine. We can have a midwife from Arizona. For her, it's not illegal to attend a home birth. And you could have your babies at home. There is no problem. And I, as a new mom, that too in a totally different country, trying to understand all this, I'm just clueless. And I'm telling her, okay, do whatever you want to do, and just show me some way so that I can birth at home. So we tried a couple of options, but also it didn't work out. So so I thought, all right, whatever. Then the midwives I was consulting, they said, you go to this doctor. He's a very, very good doctor. And his name was, it's funny. His name was Dr. Chandler. So, yeah, those of, Friends fan. Um, so Dr. Chandler was really, really good person. He used to work with midwives. His mentor was a very good person, a great mentor who used to encourage him to work with people who are hiring doulas and who are working with midwives. So he said, yes, of course we'll have a normal, we will give you trial of labor, and if possible we'll just deliver both of the twins normally, naturally. But I want you to take ultrasounds every 15 days for now, and then every week. And I said, okay, but why? And he said, there are high chances that twin to twin transfusion can happen, and one twin could just, stop growing. And if something like that is happening, then we could take corrective measures. There are surgeries, there are certain things that can be done to keep both the twins alive and healthy, etc. That was scary, but I went with it. I said, okay. So I went for 2 ultrasounds. And in the third ultrasound, they told me, okay, we first told you that you are having monodi twins, which is like 1 placenta and two twins. But that's not the case. Both of the twins have their separate placentas and separate amniotic sacs that are called di twins. And they are most, low risk category of twins. So I was also doing my research. So I was happy they are di twins. And then we went for one more ultrasound, and then I just stopped. I said, I can feel my babies growing. I can feel my babies healthy. We didn't own a car in USA, so I used to take a bus, and it was a remote place where we were living. And it used to take me 1.5 hours to go to that hospital, which was having this ultrasound facility. High risk maternal fetal medicine doctor, some big jargon they had sent me to. And it was tedious, and it was stressful. And I just stopped going after a while. And then I just started trusting my body. My doula was a chiropractor, so she regularly gave me some sessions of muscle release and relaxing my body. And she referred me to a very good cheap clinic of acupuncturist, which was a community acupuncturist, and it was really, really good. So I used to get acupuncture regularly to ease my pains and discomforts of pregnancy. And I was swimming, and I was eating healthy, and we were walking a lot. So there comes the 24th week, and then the great GTT comes, the glucose tolerance test. And I was told that you have high levels of glucose in your blood. So you are having gestational diabetes. And now that I am a midwife, I know that twin pregnancies will almost always will have gestational diabetes, because come on, your body is growing a baby 24/7. Those babies are, there is cell division happening, there is organ building happening, so they need glucose all the time. And 2 placentas are going to secrete hormones, those are going to suppress the work of insulin, so that the glucose is always available to the baby. So now I understand all this. And now if a twin pregnant mother says, I have gestational diabetes, I'm like, yeah, whatever, you just eat protein and do your exercises. Don't worry about gestational diabetes, and you don't have to take any drugs, because that's what comes with twin pregnancies. But I didn't know it back then, so I was very worried about what is happening to me. And why this happening and that happening. And my midwives uh, were the ones who gave me really, you know, they gave me a reassurance that this is something very normal. You just need to change your diet, and you just need to work with your exercises, and we'll give you a diet plan, and we'll suggest a very good AC stopped working. So we will suggest a very good book to you. You read through that. So I took a lot of care of my diet. I was eating all the good proteins and lots of vegetables and lots of mushrooms and tofu and fish, because we were living on the on the coast. So that's what made me gain weight properly. I mean, and again, the funny thing was my pre-pregnancy weight was some 70 kgs, and my weight in the last month of pregnancy was just 76 kgs. So with twins, those, and my when my twins were born, they were 2.5 kgs each. So 5 kilos of babies and amniotic fluid and placenta. So all that weight also, my body just knew that the reserves were enough. Whatever I was eating was enough. It did not put on extra weight. It did deposit some fat deposits because my cheeks, everything was really, bulging. But I was feeling very healthy, very active. And I think that's where your pregnancy, makes a difference. When you're connected with your body, your consciousness, you just take care of yourself. Nobody needs to tell you how to take care of yourself. So you just, because my doula was very, very supportive of, please do yoga every day. Please talk to your baby every day. Please connect with your body. And that was something very new to me. In the sense, pregnancy again, first time mother with twins, so much overwhelmed. Still, there was something which I could stick to, talking to my babies, connecting to my babies, connecting to the divine, because I had prayed for them. And then when they came, I just knew that the power that has sent them to me will obviously take care of them for me. So that was something, I would say that's where it makes a difference. If you are connected with your body, with your babies, and not relying on someone to tell you that your babies are fine. Because by 32 weeks, I had completely stopped going to any doctor and any ultrasound. And I was like, I just don't need any of that. And I don't know where this intuition was coming from. now when I have done Vapio's midwifery course, and now I know that we are in an alpha state in pregnancy, because that intuition is already given to us to protect our babies. The why we have nausea, why we don't feel like going to some places, is just that intuition that wants to protect the baby from um, from toxic ingredients or from even bad energies. Because there were times when I just completely did not want to visit a cinema hall, because I was just not comfortable being, sitting with a huge belly and going to pee all the time is is one of the things. But the energy of those places, the malls where people gather and energies are, very mixed, I intuitively just didn't want to go there. I don't know why. So because if my grandmother had told me this, that don't go to these places when you're pregnant, I would have said, you just have some blind faiths and superstitions and this and that. So I don't want to, I will go, because I was a rebel. But when I was away from my country, away from my culture, this intuition was telling me that some places you're not supposed to go. You won't feel good there. And I was just following that. I was feeling really good when I used to take a walk along the beach. There was a protected beach in Monterey where seals used to come and have their babies. So I saw two seals have their babies. One before I gave birth, and next after I gave birth. So that was something, amazing. That was bringing my faith back to nature. Then I remembered that as a child, I had seen a pig give birth. And I was, hiding myself really secretively on our compound wall. And just beneath that wall, the pig had created kind of a nest and she gave birth. She didn't know I was there. So I could see that birth, and it suddenly clicked. Oh, animals give birth like that. And I had forgotten about that incident long back, but it came back when I saw that the the seals give birth, etc., etc. And then then comes the time when there is a final visit to the OB at 34 weeks, and he says, "Oh, one of the twins is breech, but don't worry, we will still give you a chance of a vaginal birth if the second twin is still breech. But the only thing we will do is you will have to give birth in OT, even though it's a vaginal birth." Because by that time I was discussing my birth plan, because my doula was there. I was taking childbirth education classes. And I had told my doctor, what are the things I would like, what are the things I don't want. And he was very supportive, obviously, and he was like, if you have a doula, you are taken care of. Most of the times I will be just there only if you need, but you're good. You're good to go. So I was pretty confident. So when he tells all these things, that you will have to birth in an OT because it's a twin delivery and one of the twins is breech, I said, why OT? So he said, baby A, which was head down, when he comes out, by the time they had told me I was having boys, and I hated that fact because because in India it's a surprise and I wanted it to be a surprise. But one of the ultrasounds, and that is also one of the reasons I stopped going to the ultrasound appointments, that at 28 some weeks the nurse tells me, "Oh, do you see little boy parts?" I'm like, I didn't want to know. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but now you know." So
So the person today, people they travel to countries where for a vacation so that they can know what gender they're going to birth their baby, and they can prepare. They can do all their preparation. So they go to countries to just know what the gender is, because India does not allow you to know the gender.
but it's a good thing, actually, not allowing to see. First, that the social aspect, the female feticide, etc. But again, just not knowing and just connecting with that soul as a pure soul, irrespective of gender. Because once you think of him or her, our conditioning starts. So not knowing, just treating it as a baby, as a pure soul that is coming from higher above, higher realms of consciousness, is beautiful. And knowing the gender at birth is beautiful. And I don't like ruining that surprise. So I don't know, if people want to do that, they of course can do that. But I'm not a big fan of knowing gender before, because what is there to prepare? You prepare for the birth. Rest of all, everything is taken care of. What colors of clothes and this and that. And we were in always gender neutral. So we wanted, boys to wear pink and girls to wear blue. And we don't have any preconceptions like that. So if my boy wants to put on some makeup, I let him, try whatever. So because kids are exploring anyway. So what he told me was, if baby A comes head down and baby B is still breech, what we will do is a breech extraction. And obviously I asked, what is breech extraction? So he said, I will put my hand inside you. I will try to turn that baby, or just grab the baby and pull it down, bring it down. And there are certain maneuvers that we do. If the head is not flexed, head is just like that of the baby, we just make the head flex and take that baby out. And that all sounded so gory, so so scary to me. Like, you will put your hand into me till elbow and pull my baby. Oh my God. आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
I can hear you.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Just give me a
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. So I'll just go on. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, the breech extraction. So I didn't want that. And again, I asked my doula on the way back, can we just do a home birth? I don't want to go to the hospital. And she said, see, this hospital is good. Natividad Center has a good reputation for supporting natural birth. And Dr. Chandler is very good. Even though he says all this, believe me, it will be smooth and I will help you to turn the baby. And I said, okay, let's try. Then we did a chiropractic session, some acupressure. She didn't give me any homeopathy. We knew we had the option of homeopathy, but I didn't go for it because I was very new to all this and I didn't even know where to purchase homeopathy in USA. Because in India, we can purchase homeopathy everywhere. The homeopathic shops are everywhere. But in USA, you really have to search and look for these things. Because you have like big pharmacies, like supermarkets there. The CVS pharmacy and this and that. But finding an alternative medicine there in USA is really, really tough because obviously their government doesn't prefer that. So it's difficult for those businesses to be out there. So you really have to search. So I didn't go for it. But we were talking to Dr. So my doula got the contact of Dr. Stuart Fishbein, who was practicing in LA back then. And she said, if you want to do your twins naturally and nobody's supporting you, we'll go to San Francisco or LA where, Dr. Stu can come and deliver your babies. And I said, okay, let's just, go with it. But as of now, I don't have any plan of a home birth. Okay. Me and my husband are all preparing that in labor, we are going to the hospital, we are calling the doula, and then we will take it from there. The next ultrasound at 35 weeks, because he called me just in a week. And I went because I really liked chatting with Dr. Chandler. He was really cool. He said, oh, the second baby is head down as well. And we were like, yay, the Cairo sessions worked and acupuncture worked. And I was very happy. We were talking to the baby and I was always telling him, come out the way you are comfortable. And, I was every night we were talking to the babies and telling them that you guys are coming out as God has designed you to come out. And you won't be bothered and I won't be bothered. Birth will be just smooth and beautiful. That's what my affirmations was. That's what I was telling my babies consciously. But I was not, doing any visualization of turning the baby. Nothing like that. The baby turned on its own. I think naturally most of the babies, when their head becomes big, because that's how we are made. Baby's head is the heaviest organ. Because in mammalians, our brain is the biggest one. Obviously, I think elephants have bigger brains than us. Whatever. So babies do turn head down eventually. Most of babies, some babies prefer to stay breech because they are more comfortable in a breech position. Even now, as a midwife, my go-to is never, how to turn a breech baby. I am always thinking if that mother is having a breech at 35, 36 weeks, how to facilitate a breech birth. That's where my thinking goes. But anyway, that's a different story. But world out there is very scared of breech births. And twins, invariably 50% of the twins, one of the twins will be breech because that's how they adjust in the womb. One head up in the 69 position because there is no room for, two babies, two heads. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes what happens is one twin gets out of the womb and the other twin turns head down because that's when he gets the space. That also happens. So luckily, my babies were head down by 36 weeks. At 36 weeks exactly, I see a lot of liquid coming out of my vagina, a lot of discharge. I put on pads and I don't know what it is. I call my doula, send her pictures. So yeah, people who have worked with doulas and midwives, yeah, you send us weird pictures and we see them. So yeah, that's one funny fact. Um, so the doula was like, it could be water, it or maybe not, but we should go and check once with the hospital. So we went to the hospital. I was not having any contractions. So in the hospital, I said, I don't want a vaginal check. You just check what it is. So they gave me a strip and they asked me to, whatever is coming out of you, just put it on that strip. If it changes color, it is amniotic fluid. So we did that and it was not amniotic fluid. He said it's just your cervical discharge, your vaginal discharge. Your body is just preparing for birth. You can go home. And I was so happy to be back because I did not want to go get admitted. If I were in India, they would have admitted me and they would have maybe induced or pressurized into me into a C-section. I don't know what would have happened. But I came back home and after 4 days of that incident, that happened on a Saturday, on Wednesday, I start having slight contractions after dinner, 9:30 p.m. And I was just pacing up and down because we had a, I don't know what it is called, the bungalow where I could climb stairs. There was a garage beneath and we were living up on the upper floor. And so I was pacing all around the house and I fed dinner to my husband. I asked him, just go to sleep. I don't want anybody around. And I'm having contractions and I just want to be alone. So he said okay, because many nights before I was like that, because it was so hard for me to sleep in a bed, uh, because the belly was so huge and I was so restless all the time that I couldn't sleep on the bed. I used to sleep in a resting chair for some time, in sofa for some time, in bed for some time with my huge this U-shaped pregnancy pillow. But I just couldn't sleep all night. And I had to pee so many times because of so much pressure on my bladder. So he was used to it. And he was like, yeah, it might be, one of those nights when she's just restless and can't sleep. And he went to bed. And I knew something is starting. I was having contractions. And by 2:30 a.m. or something, the back pain was so much that I went into the shower and I start taking hot water on my back. And from that on, everything is a haze because I try to remember every detail of it, but sometimes I just don't, because I was going towards active labor and I was going into that trance and going within, talking to my babies. I don't know where I was. I was in the labor land. So I don't know, like 2.5 hours I take water, because eventually we ran out of hot water, and our water supply was restored in like 2 hours after that or something. And all this while my husband is sleeping. And when he heard the shower, he asked me, do you need some help? And I was like, no, it's just, I'm just taking shower at 2:30 a.m. for nothing. You just go to sleep. And he didn't ask a question. He went back to sleep. It was funny. So at 6 a.m. I tell him we have to call the doula, because I'm having regular contractions every 8 to 10 minutes. And they remained 8 to 10 minutes till afternoon. And these were good, solid, strong contractions. So she came and she said, you guys have breakfast, we'll go, this is daytime, so our contractions might fade away. Let's wait for some time. Then we had breakfast. She made me do some exercises. She made me lift my belly, support my back on the wall, and belly lifts during the contractions, and light squatting, etc. We were doing all that. I was happy. So by that time it was 12 o'clock, and I said, shall we go now? And she said, if you guys want to have lunch, let's have lunch. And I'll just go back for a couple of hours to my son, because you are obviously having your babies in the night tonight, of course. But yeah, we still have time. So I said, okay. In the afternoon by 2:33, contractions were really intense, and I was in transition, and I was reporting, I'm having too much back pain, I can't do this, it's too much, we need to go to the hospital. And she said, wait a minute, you're having back pain, maybe, one of the babies is posterior, I don't know, we'll call the acupuncturist. And an acupuncturist comes to my house. She put some acupuncture needles, on the ears, on ankles, and all the pregnancy points that we try usually. And that kind of put me to sleep. I slept. It relaxed me so much. I slept at around 4:30. Yeah, at 4 she came. She started it, and it went on and on till like 4:30, and I just slept. I woke up at 5:30, 5:45, and I was pushing. And I tell my husband, I need to poop. I said, let's go to the toilet and you can poop and then we can leave. And I go sit down on the toilet and I make a good push. My body is involuntarily doing this. I don't know that the baby is gonna come out, but what I said to my husband is, I'm pushing. I don't know what's going to come out. I said, whatever, because he didn't even either know. So we went on the toilet. In second good push, the entire baby comes out and falls in the toilet. And I'm sitting like this. I'm holding his waist, and I said, "That's baby." I was like, "Are you sure?" Something really fell. Like we heard that sound, boop, and I look, and yes, it was him, this baby. That's why he's so attached to me, I think. He's just very spontaneous. He just, wherever he wants to go, he just goes without inhibition. So that's what he carries from birth, I think. So that baby came out, and I take him into my hands, and he's smiling. And I tell my husband, what a beautiful baby. And my husband is in awe. Like the bathroom has converted into a crime scene with lots of blood, and he doesn't know what to do. There is a baby in my hand, and I'm like, call the doula, because the doula had gone home for arranging some things, and she was supposed to meet us at the hospital. And I'm saying, call the doula. And my husband calls the doctor, and the doctor says, call 911. Because second baby needs to come out and she needs to be transported to the hospital, because we don't know what will happen, this and that. Lots of fears doctor have. Maybe I should have just waited at home. I would have had my second baby at home without a problem. But again, so he calls 911, and the fire station was just 2 blocks away from my house. So the fire engine, two ambulances, everybody arrives in like 3 minutes. That being USA and we being in very small town, in 3 minutes everybody is there. Lots of noise, lots of people coming in, and I don't know what's happening. And because I was so happy, I was in a high, and this baby is with me. I was like, yay, I did my own birth. I was so happy because I was looking for midwives. I was running from pillar to post. Who will support my birth at home? Because I don't want to go to the hospital. I just don't like the hospital. And, here the Mother Divine just sends my baby to me at home as I wanted. So I'm so happy. And the paramedics come running in, and they want to grab the baby, cut the cord. And I'm like, wait, let the cord, dry out. Let the cord become very thin and white. I'm not letting you cut it. So they are waiting the force of paramedics is waiting on me, and I'm like enjoying my baby. And they're asking my husband the questions like, are you sure there is a second baby in there? And I was like, what is this question? Do you need me to show ultrasound reports and all that. I'm telling you, there is a second baby inside. She's a twin mom. We need to take her. So, all right. Then I let them cut the cord. I wanted the baby with me, but it was so hazy. They took the baby away in one ambulance. They took me in one ambulance. That's why this guy has separation anxiety. He just never wants to be separated from me, I think. So he goes in one ambulance and they take him to NICU, I think. My husband goes with the baby. I'm in the different ambulance. They take me to the hospital, which is the nearest one, because by law they have to go to the nearest hospital and not the hospital that I wanted, which was 1.5 hours drive from Monterey. It was in Salinas Valley. So they take me to this hospital, which is like really not favorite of the doulas, because they know that this hospital is not at all natural birth friendly. The C-section rate is 40%. And it's not a good hospital. They don't respect mother's wishes, etc., etc. I had heard things about that, but me toca in Spanish. It's like if it is your destiny, that's what you do. And I went to that hospital. The funny thing was, in the door, they were asking, the paramedics were asking, where should we take her? And somebody said OT, because she's a twin mom and twins have to be delivered in OT. And I shouted, no, I'm not going to the OT. Take me to a normal labor room. Over my dead body, I'm not going to the OT. And that being US, they respected my wishes. I don't know what power was with me, what power was protecting me. They respected my wishes. In India, that would have never happened. They would have done a C-section maybe for second twin. I don't know. It's insane what happens here. In USA also, I'm not just blaming my country, because maternity care is, not respecting women's wishes in birth is very common all through the planet, all over the planet. So anyway, but my wishes were respected. They took me to a normal labor room. The doctor comes and he was like, will you lie down on your back? I need to check where the baby is. And I said, no, I'm not lying down on my back. I climbed on the bed. In hospital, they have these railings, on both sides of the beds. So I face the back of the bed. I hold those railings and I squat like a good Indian lady. And then my doula, and then I didn't have the urge to push. So this is again a very interesting thing in twin delivery, that after one baby comes, uterus sometimes takes a pause before expelling the second baby. So I was not having any contractions. I was not having any urge to push. And that went on and on for almost 50 minutes. Before that, what happened was, doctor wanted to touch my perineum and he was doing something like this. And I asked my doula, because I'm squatting, and I asked her, not the doctor, because doctor is from behind. And I asked the doula, what is he doing? And she said, he's supporting your perineum so you don't tear. And I shouted at the doctor, I want to tear, stop touching me. And doctor, he was like, he took his hands off and he went back. And then I pushed out my baby. I got my own baby and put him on my chest. And I was very happy. I was like ecstatic. I was, my doula came, my childbirth educator came, because she called her mentor, and both of them came and they were happy. And I was like, I had my own birth. I got my second baby. So both of my births were undisturbed. I was very, very thankful and grateful for that. But then the drama started, because I had twins, and obviously my body had made a lot of blood. And after the delivery, my body just wanted to get rid of that blood. So I was bleeding, but I know now that I was not hemorrhaging, because I was completely fine. And the doctor panics seeing that blood, and he's like, we need to get the placentas out. And I'm least bothered. I'm enjoying my baby. I'm telling my husband, get my first baby, get my first baby. And my husband is telling me, no, his temperature is going down. So they have kept him in an incubator. And I'm like, how insane. Bring him here on my chest. He will be fine. And I'm innately know that, intuitively, that he doesn't need to go to warmer. He was warm and safe on my chest, but they wouldn't give me the baby. So my husband was fighting with them. And here this doctor wanted to take my placenta out. And after a couple of tries of tugging the cord, he said, I'm going to go in. And he put his gloved hand until this into me because I was squatting. And he tried to take the placenta out. And it was horrible. The most horrible thing ever happened to me. And even now it takes some deep breaths to talk about it for me, because it was that traumatic. But I need to tell this because this is what happens in hospitals, and that was something that made me think about becoming a childbirth educator, telling women what happens in hospitals and why they need to look for options. And eventually that brought me to a very different place where I am now. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would become a home birth midwife someday. Although my midwives had said, Tapasya, you know what, you can become a midwife. And I was like, no, I'm a diplomat's wife already. And that's my life, hosting parties and diplomacy and this and that. Now I don't enjoy all of that. But anyway, I live two lives. Um, but uh, but that doctor tried to take my placenta for 6 times. He came came and entered, and I was like, stop, this is insane. You're not getting anywhere. You're not able to take my placenta out. You're not able to stop the bleeding. I am fine. Give me my second baby. I will push this placenta out. These were my words. I don't know from where it came. I hadn't had that much of birth education to tell them. I knew that placenta birth is important, and natural placenta birth happens effortlessly if you have your baby with you. But that's what I said. Give me my second baby. I will birth this placenta. I'm telling you. And he said, no, 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 we need to do something. And so we need to put you under anesthesia. And I said, okay, do whatever you want to put me under anesthesia, but stop this nonsense. This is hurting. This is horrible. This is torture. And my doula tells the doctor, now the patient is not consenting. And if you put your hand once more, I'm calling the director of this hospital, because she was a very, fierce lady, the president of Monterey Birth Network. She had been doing this work for years, and she had picked up like arms with that community hospital of Monterey. So, she was little infamous there, and people were kind of, oh, we don't want to, iske saath panga nahi lena hai type of lady. So the doctor just stops. Then they shift me to OT and give anesthesia and put my placenta cut up in all pieces. I don't know what they did. I think they did a DNC to take out my placenta. And when I came out of the anesthesia at 2:30 a.m. in the night, like my first baby was born at 5:55 and second was after 1 hour at 6:55. And then it all I got my babies, and then we were reunited. So it was pretty hard. So I wasn't having any contractions, and my doula says, why don't you go and try on all fours to push out the baby? And I went on all fours, but I didn't feel like pushing in that position. So I again go to squatting position, and she said, it's been an hour. Why don't we try to get out this baby? Do you want to try and push? And I said, okay, let's try. And I push, and just 2 pushes, the second guy comes out. And I was pretty happy about that as well. And I caught my baby. Sorry for that. So then on the next day, the doctor came to me and apologized for whatever he did. And he said, I panicked and I didn't want you to bleed too much. And babies were fine. I was fine. Babies were latching. And somehow I just wanted my babies only for feeding. And then I wanted to sleep because it was so hard on my body, all those procedures, that I couldn't connect with my babies. I mean, I had connection with them, but I didn't want to take care of them both at the same time. So I was asking the nurses, you take them to nursery for a nap. Let me nap for 2 hours. Let me nap for 3 hours. And they did that favor to me. Uh, I don't know how it would have happened in a home birth, but maybe in a home birth, you are just ecstatic on the hormones and you are just pulling this off. But when it is intervened with anesthesia and drugs and all that, I think it interrupts the bond of the mother with the babies, and she doesn't want to take care of the babies. She just wants to sleep. And I won't blame mothers for that. I can understand why many C-section moms have difficulty in first 2-3 days with connecting with the babies and breastfeeding. And I didn't have any difficulty, but the pediatrician came and she was like, you have to take the babies, otherwise you won't make milk, get the pump. She was making me pump. And fortunately the babies were given donor's milk because we had opted for not formula and human milk, and they had a milk bank, thankfully. And I just wish we had human milk banks in every hospital. I think in Bangalore and in Delhi, I think they have one or two, but we need more milk banks. And maybe in future I would love to work about in that. But yeah, so my babies were having donor's milk. And on second day they were like, you're good to go home. And I didn't know how to go home with two babies. No help, no nurse. I'm being very honest. Now I know you are better off, but you need a lot of postpartum support. And luckily, my mom flew in the next day. So we had bought tickets from India to USA for her on 11th of January, for 11th of January. And my babies decided to come on 10th of January. So they just wanted to come the way, because maybe my mother, if she was there in labor, she would have taken me to hospital. And my birth story would have been different. Maybe I would have had a normal birth or with interventions, a vaginal birth, but then the story wouldn't be this exciting. And that maybe would not have made me come to midwifery or the path that I'm choosing now. But that's what happened. That's what the destiny was. Eventually the truth remains that I caught both of my babies. Technically I caught only one fell in the toilet. But I birthed my babies without anybody's help, and that is the fact that helps me support free birthing moms, because I have experienced it in my very bones and my tissues, to give birth, how to give birth in autonomy without anybody telling you anything or touching you or doing something. The efforts were made to make me give birth, but I could fight that, and I just made my way through it. And I'm very proud of myself for that. But I'm at the same time I'm very grateful, because there was some power that was making me do all this and taking me through all this. So then, postpartum was hard with two newborn babies, but thankfully I was well fed and I was making a lot of milk. So breastfeeding was never a problem, but those babies being small, and the hospital pushed bottle from the first day, although it was donor's milk, it took me 3 weeks to get them exclusively on breast. And after 3 weeks I got them exclusively on breast. And after that, one of my twins had to undergo a little bit of surgery, a small procedure for laryngomalacia, like his larynx, the flap that divides the food pipe and the windpipe, that was very floppy. So he was making a lot of noise while breathing, and he was losing a lot of energy in breathing, and he was not gaining weight, and he was looking like really small as compared to the second twin. So after this procedure, they had to put a pipe through his nose to his stomach. And all through that, I never fed him formula. I was feeding one baby, pumping from the other side, and fed that pumped milk through that pipe. And by 5, 6 months, he gained weight and he was equal to his twin brother. And then the doctors in India said you can remove the pipe, because by that time we had come to India um, between postings, and then we got transferred again to Argentina. So it was long flights with two babies from San Francisco to Delhi, and from Delhi to Argentina. So anyway, so that kind of compelled me. For first 1 year, I didn't know what I was doing, when I was eating, when I was taking a shower, because two babies, feeding them all the time with no help around. My mom was there for 3 months with me. After that, she went away, and then I was all on my own. Because my husband was busy, and when we shifted to Argentina, there was G20 summit and a lot of work with the embassy. So husband was just not there, and we didn't have a good house help, because it takes time to, for the house help even to gel with the family and have those rhythms. So I was practically doing everything on my own, but that gave me the confidence that if I can do this, then I can do anything in the world. And after my twins turned one, a lady came to me and she said, because I used to tell my story with, like, in embassy parties and with the groups of ladies, and one of them was pregnant, and she said, I know you have given birth to twins, in this amazing way. So tell me how it went, and what did you learn from those classes? You are telling that you took birth classes and all that. And I just, started telling her what happened in birth classes and how I prepared and this and that. And I just wrote down a curriculum kind of thing, that you come every Tuesday to me and we'll talk. We met some 5, 6 times, and by that time she was very well prepared, and then she had her baby, not at home but at hospital, but vaginally, and she was very happy about it. So that's how it started. And then other embassy lady came. She was a VBAC mom. I didn't know anything about VBAC. Then I started reading. I was in some Facebook groups based out of India, Birth India, this group, Informed Birthing India, all those Facebook groups. At that time, I was reading posts, and I was again doing my research and reading. And then somebody suggested that why don't you get certified as a childbirth educator? And then I started looking for options. I took Herbal's course, holistically empowered rebel Academy of Birth Keepers. So because I didn't want to do kappa and other things, because they told me you cannot argue with the doctor. And my experience was I did argue with the doctor. My doula did argue with the doctor, and that got me the birth I wanted. So again, my philosophy of birth, I went to the course which resonated with me, with what I thought, and not putting me under any limitations, anything that a doula cannot do. Doula cannot give a medical advice. Come on, how do you differentiate between a normal advice and a medical advice? If a doula tells you that don't get your waters broken, doctors will say, oh, she's interfering with medical advice. The mom will say, no, she's talking sense. So it's all very, even the world of childbirth educators, doulas and midwife, it is so complex. So you have to be very clear in which way you want to serve women. And that was something made me choose herbal, and I took their birth keepers course. And when my children were 2.5, the pandemic hit in 2020. And the amazing thing was, in the pandemic, I got to attend a home birth. So that brought me back to the world of home birth, because by that time I was taking classes, I was going to hospitals with people. But then I knew this is not something I enjoy. I belong to home birth world. And then I started that was a local dai with whom we did that home birth. And I started interviewing her and her community, and then going down into how rural women birth and how home births happen. And that luckily followed into me getting back to Argentina, and I got into again circle of like-minded people and got in touch with midwives, and two of them accepted me as their apprentice. And then I started attending home birth with licensed midwives, not with DICE, because with DICE I had attended, but then I got to see how a modern DICE attends births. Use of homeopathy, scientifically learning how to take hard tones, what happens if this happens, how to help a baby to, breathe well, etc., etc. And that kind of got me into learning more. And then I enrolled with Vapio, and like rest is history. I became a home birth midwife. So yeah, I think I talked a lot and I have exceeded the time limit.
No, it's always been that way, Tapasya. We speak for us. So I'm so glad that you shared this part, and the part when you felt violated, that really touched. And that's how I think, every mother who is uninformed, who's not taking the consent in India feels. So I have my questions to ask, but I would also request sisters to put their questions so that we can, if you have any doubts or you want to know something about what you heard in the story, we can ask Tapasya. So Tapasya, now it is, in India, people are seeing labels, label Padega India, and but for me as well, my birth shifted, the way I wanted to start solids to my child, and, everything shifted with that natural birth, which I did. So yeah, now the trend is that, everyone should look into the label. But for us, when you are into it, you kind of follow the trend. So जैसे अभी हमारे घर पर भी there is no harpic, no cleanser to, it's all either bioenzyme or stuff like that. So it changes your life. It changes how you look into your life. Just one birth shifted everything, and that's how, you had a thing before your birth. Because you were into that circle of women intending to birth in a different way. So my question to you is like someone who wants to conceive, and have been trying, what things, if I ask you three things to, say that, this, please try doing this, what would be those for conscious pregnancies?
Yeah, three things is eat clean, live clean, and clean your mental space. So eat clean means always read the labels, throw out every type of packaged food, like whatever food you can, open the packet and eat, not good for you. The things you have to make from scratch in your kitchen are the better things. Again, the raw material that we are using is so adulterated. So go for organic if you can. I'm not saying everybody can afford organic or everybody can find authentic sources, but as much as you can, if you are living in a small town, there are farmers markets every week, everywhere. Like at least in Maharashtra, you have Athaudi Bazaar everywhere where you can go and buy from local farmers. Their produce is small. Some things will look not as fine. The things will be eaten by worms and bugs, but those are the good things. Those are the things that nourish you. Because if bugs can eat it, it's good for you. If bugs die eating it, then it's probably not good for you. So, try to eat clean. If you eat non-veg, then source your eggs and chicken and fish from the sources which have, low or at least no antibiotics or hormonal treatments to their animals. Try to get A2 cow milk, etc., etc. But if you can't do all that, try to find local sources, the small farmers, the small dairy wala people, the small, person who has 3, 4 cows and is living out of, selling milk of them. He's probably doesn't have those many resources to put into the animal to, antibiotics and hormones and this and that. He's just doing what nature is giving him. So find those sources. Secondly, clean your house. Clean your house. That means stop using uh, toxic products. Start reading labels. There are so many chemicals, right from our toothpaste in the morning till the moisturizer we apply on our body and sleep. Everything has so much synthetic additive, lots of preservatives, lots of toxins. So try and switch to more natural products. The natural products don't have to be expensive. I don't use soap. It's been 4 years now. I haven't used soap. And it's cheap because I use Upton, which we buy in Diwali in Maharashtra. Or I use this cow dung product that I really like. They make Upton out of cow dung. Or if I don't get anything, I will use just the chana flour, the what do you call it?
Besan.
Yeah, the chana flour and malai or honey or whatever I get, and that's all. So I don't use any toxic shampoos. I don't use conditioner. I just use sarson ka tel, oil it a little big good, and then wash it off. So you don't need a conditioner and stuff like that. So I started making my bioenzymes. I started using soap nuts for my laundry, soap nut based soap for washing my dishes, because that is the most toxic thing we do, this vim and prill and this and that. We are eating those toxins through our plates. One thing I did was I removed all the aluminum and plastic from my kitchen, and I switched to cast iron, clay pots, and to store the foods, either those are steel dabbas or glass jars. So I'm very particular about, I don't drink water out of plastic bottles, and stuff like that. So be what you have in your environment, because all the floor cleaners that we are using, the mosquito repellents, the air fresheners, everything we are ingesting, and those are toxins, and they do lead to infertility. So for my fertility clients, first thing is clean your environment, clean your food. And third most important thing is try to bring the well-being mindset, because it again connects to the spirituality, that we can control some things, but we cannot control some other things, so we have to leave them to the divine to take care of, and then just go with the flow. And whatever negative, I'm grateful that I do not face any abuse in my home environment. I'm the queen at my home, but not every woman is. When many women can't even express what they want in home environments, and they face a lot of abuse, and sometimes, if not abuse, a lot of suppression of their own emotions. So work with that. Give yourself some time. Even if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, you need to take out some time for yourself if you want to have another kid. So that are very fundamental basic things that you need to do if you are you want to conceive and have a beautiful what I'd like to say is nirbhay. If you are fearless within, then only you are going to produce a fearless generation. And mothers are so fear mongered right from the conception. Ye ho jayega, wo ho jayega, progesterone le lo. You will lose your baby within first 3 months, so you take progesterone. So then the pregnancy continues after 3 months. Then you have to take so many tests to make sure that this baby is healthy and genetically fine, this and that. Itna agar choice hota, to why would I mean, people would have just robots and not the diversity. Yeah, but that's how medical system wants to control everything. And then somehow you go through the pregnancy with all those tests and this and that and this supplement, that supplement. Finally it comes to birth, then the fear is like at the top. Like, you cannot birth without a doctor. You have to do what doctor says, and you or your baby might die if you don't do what the doctor says. And that's how we are living, that's how we are giving birth. And how are we supposed to create a generation that is free thinking and fearless? There is no way we can have that. So that's my
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and here someone sister is also saying that you got to also prepare for the postpartum as you prepare, for the birth. And yeah, like as we Dula, we believes that birth. People think that birth ho jayega, sab kuch ho jayega. So birth is just the end of the pregnancy, and birth is the beginning of the postpartum, beginning for the transition. The starting point for the baby. So how important do you think postpartum preparation is?
absolutely important. I didn't prepare for my postpartum and I suffered. Didn't prepare in the sense I didn't have a choice. So my mother came. Thankfully, I didn't have to cook. So I was well fed, well nourished, and I was taken care of in terms of laundry and other things. But I couldn't get massages. I couldn't, I should have prepared better. I did actually. But being in a different country, I didn't have much choice. But for postpartum, the most important thing I would say, get a support. It might be your family members or a hired support. If you're working, don't work late into the pregnancy thinking that I will take more leave in the postpartum. Stop working at 7 months. Try to connect with your baby. Try to prepare for your postpartum. Maybe put in some extra hours in earning money before that, but hire somebody in the postpartum to take care of other things which are just mundane, laundry and cooking and household stuff. So you don't have to put energy into that. And then make sure that you get nourishing foods. You arrange your food supplies according to that. There are people who do home deliveries. You have your trusted suppliers. You make sure that same things keep coming, even if somebody else in charge of the kitchen. Make sure that you take some counseling about breastfeeding beforehand, because breastfeeding, every mother who gives birth, naturally she thinks breastfeeding will come naturally, but sometimes that's not the case. Breastfeeding is an art that a mother and baby learns, and it needs some time to master that art. So read beforehand, talk to people beforehand. See, in communities, in rural houses, I have grown up seeing my aunts, my everybody feeding their babies everywhere. They were sitting in some function, they suddenly start feeding. That was the culture. But just in last 10-15 years, breastfeeding has gone down. Breastfeeding in public has gone down. No, now girls don't see people breastfeeding around. And then we are literally thrown into this new territory where I have a baby, I have to nourish him, and I have to take care of me. And in most of the cases, you're going to have C-section. If you're not well prepared, then I have to recover from those stitches and those horrible stuff. And then I have to nourish this baby, and I don't know what to do. And then I rely on the suggestions and comments that are coming, and I'm getting overwhelmed that oh, mujhe to kuch bhi nahi aata. So two things: prepare for breastfeeding, prepare for your nourishment, give yourself priority, and do what feels most organic to you in the postpartum. Don't go by suggestions, comments, because ghar ke bade bude, they have a lot of concern for you. They wish you good, but sometimes you get overwhelmed by everybody telling a new mother what to do. So do what feels most organic to you. So that's what I will say. That's how you prepare for. But again, for me,
India and
preparation for
advisors
birth,
are.
postpartum, it's like, it's not one night work. It's not an exam you study all night and give the exam. It's the way you live, your lifestyle in general. So be assertive, try to put yourself first. That's how you can take care of others well. If you don't put yourself in the forefront, then you cannot be a good mother with all your energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in India, we have support, but with support, it comes overwhelming. The mother is always found in guilt, and all of these are there. And when sisters who travel from India to abroad, and they have to, manage everything at home, also the birth, also the new baby and the old, if the mother is the second time mom. So even one person going there is a great help. At least things are managed, and that's how you said, your mother's presence was very helpful to you. So yeah. Anyone else? One thing which is very common, that's the last question. Suppose I see that your child needs you. That how, like, did your spouse was also taking these childbirth classes with you? Was he a person who knew what is going to happen, though he was not ready for the home birth, but then still he was there and he did not freak out that much? But was he a part? And how important is for the spouses to also listen to each and every class, and be attentive to all the minute details which the childbirth educator is teaching or a doula is mentioning before, in her prenatals and pregnancy. How important is that? Yeah, I'll share the number of Tapasya.
Yeah, you can write to me on Instagram at Birthkeeper Tapasya. You can type that, Sneha. And I'm on Facebook by Tapasya Kulkarni. You can put a DM to me and we can connect. I can also give you my email. You can write to me. My phone number might change because I'm moving to Sri Lanka, so I'm not very keen on giving my phone number away. But yes, I'm there on social media and you can always connect and then we can exchange numbers if you want to. So yeah, my spouse was not there at every class, but he attended the most important ones because he was, busy elsewhere. Uh, being a diplomat, it's not an easy life. It's too much work from the ministry. But he he knew one thing, that it's my body, my birth, and I had made it very clear that I'm going to give birth the way I want, and you're just there to support. If I don't need your support, don't come in my way. And he followed it to that T. He went back to sleep and I said, I don't need you, go back. When I needed him, I said, I need to push, I need your support. He came, he supported me. After coming back home from the hospital, because I was there in the hospital with babies for 2 days, he came back, he cleaned up all the bathroom and showed me the photographs. It was tough. But he did everything and he supported me. And in breastfeeding also, he uh, first, he was under an influence of the pediatrician who was like, give a top up feed is formula. And they put it like top up feed, nothing happens. But I did not want to put formula in my baby. So my husband supported me throughout the breastfeeding journey, holding babies for me, passing one another and changing diapers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like managing two of them.
Yeah.
Again, there would be instances where you might be tandem feeding them, right? Like both the babies needing both the breasts.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But my husband just stood with me in all the tough times where my baby had to be hospitalized and we had to put a tube and I was crying. But he held me because we didn't have any choice. We were in a foreign country and we just had each other. And he just stood with me wonderfully in all that. He still admits that I don't have as much courage as you. I don't have the courage to homeschool them. I am very worried about their future. Get scared. I get scared by the fact that you go and attend home births. It's risky, this and that. But you do it. I'm there. You do you. Me do, I do me. That's how Gio or Gine do is a basic principle of my marriage. So yeah, so he's there. Without his support, I cannot do the things I do. So he's secretly watching me everywhere, a little bit scared, but he's like, okay, इसमें हिम्मत है तो ये कर लेगी, let her do. So that's how it is.
So once again, I'm so grateful that I could, get hold of you before you leave India. And I really did not wanted to miss this. Therefore, even if I'm, I'm with my family out there, but I wanted, I made sure that the kids are managed and I wanted this session to happen. So thank you so much, Tapasya. I hope there was a gift given to you in Delhi by people, by someone, yeah. And there was a note of mine. I was so that was so full. I was so full of gratitude that I had, I'm there a part of that big diary of yours, inshallah. And I'm looking forward to learn under you the words which we have done together. It has just changed everything in my life. So I'm so happy and thank you so much. We love you, Tapasya, and we want you to come back to India. And if you can stay in Mumbai, that would be great. But still, being in India, so it's as if it feels like Tapasya India में थी तो she's there, no, she's like yeah. अब वो जब जा रही है तो it's like यार, and we have not even met, isn't it? So
I'm
अब
still
ऐसा लग रहा है कि it's
there.
feeling very heavy.
I'm just I'm just going next door. It's just Sri Lanka. It's
But still it's not India, right?
and
तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि अपनी बहन जा रही है एंड लाइक वो इंडिया में थी, भले हम मिले नहीं है, हमने बर्थ साथ में कि हम इतना कनेक्टेड है, बट स्टिल इट वाज कि हाँ इधर ही है, बट नाउ वो इधर नहीं है, वो उधर है. So my husband like, yeah, we'll go to Colombo. We're gonna meet her. Don't worry. I'm like, yeah.
hey, maybe I will come to Mumbai more frequently because from Colombo to go to Maharashtra, Mumbai is the nearest airport for me, and we
Yeah,
don't
inshallah.
know how we connect. It's all universe because I did my first home birth in India when a mother found me, a Russian mother who was staying in Goa, found that somebody is there in Argentina who's talking about all this, an Indian lady. And eventually, for her birth, we were transferred, and I flew from Argentina to Goa and attended her birth.
Wow.
So I don't, it's all universe how it connects people. So I'm always relying on the Divine Mother to send me people who need me. That's what my prayer is. Like if I can really help those, then send them to me. If they don't understand what I'm doing, or if I'm not able to give back what they need, then it won't work out eventually. But
Yeah.
by some flicker of luck, I don't know, I got always clients who knew what they wanted in birth. So most of my clients are free birthers. They don't have medical providers at their birth. They birth with a doula, their families, and that's how they live their life fearlessly. And somehow that has taken me where I am, and I'm very grateful for that. And you being there as a solid support in Mumbai, if some query comes from Mumbai, I can always Neha se baat kar lo. So that is a big help to me in my work, and I'm really grateful to the divine for people like you.
And it is only because you showed that trust in me. Trust me that you said, Sneha, you can do this. I think you got to you are doing midwifery, and I was like not sure, but for a surprise that yes, I am studying, so I can call myself a student midwife. Maybe I don't know. That's what a midwife can. And अभी आपने बोला ना कि आपकी भी midwife ने बोला था कि तू ये कर सकती है. So that is the same thing you transferred into me, and I think शायद कर ही सकते हैं. Let's see how it goes.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Take care. Someone wants to speak. Yeah, 1 minute. Huh? Someone
Yeah,
you can unmute.
I just want.
Yeah, we cannot hear you. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I recently had a very hard time looking for a masseuse for myself in my postpartum. I just had my fourth baby at home. And I was just talking to her, and I was like, and she said, I've been massaging Bacha Jacha for 40 years almost. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. You can train people. And before I could say any further, she was like, बहुत सारी औरतें आती हैं मेरे पास जो कहती हैं कि आप हमें भी सिखा दें. मैं तो कहती हूँ हट, मेरा काम तुम सीख लोगी तो फिर मेरा काम कहाँ जाएगा. And I was really shocked to hear that, it's a She was quite an elderly, and but मैंने कहा कि आपका आपकी स्किल आपके हाथ में है, अल्लाह ताला ने आपको रिस्क का वादा दिया है, आपको डरने की तो बात ही कोई नहीं है, इतनी सारी औरतों को जरूरत है, एंड वी हैव नो वन टू हेल्प अस. So I really have to mention how tapasya is the complete opposite of this ideology, that I know this, and this is my superpower, and
Yeah.
I can't reveal it all, because then I will not be required. From day
Yeah.
one, when you get in touch with her, she empowers you in a way that she lets you know that you can do it all by yourself. She's not trying to create clients for herself. She's only sharing her passion, uh, and I can never thank her enough for this, because no amount of knowledge and no amount of education can ever prepare you in this way, the way she did, sharing her resources, sharing her insight, and believing in me, and kind of telling me that I can believe in myself, that I should never hesitate in listening to my own gut feeling and intuition. It took me 4 births to actually reach what she found in her first. Alhamdulillah. Even though I had like 4 normal deliveries and all, very empowered births, but she assisted me in my third. And from day one, when I got in touch with her, she, I really am really grateful to her to uh, making me believe in myself, you know. Alhamdulillah. And I wish her all the best. And we of course, we have the internet and everything. And I know that the space is not going to, but I share your feelings, Sneha. It feels like, she's leaving. So, but she's going to be back. And I know that we have met for a reason. और हम लोग सब मिलकर इस फील्ड में जो कि ऐसा लगता है, दिस सीम्स लाइक द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग इन द वर्ल्ड. द वे यू ब्रिंग योर चाइल्ड टू दिस वर्ल्ड is going to shape the world, you know. So Alhamdulillah for everything, and Alhamdulillah for Tapasya's presence in our lives, and we love her. And yeah, we are together in this.
That was so sweet. But the thing is, knowledge is not mine. मैंने create नहीं किया है. मेरे पास भी किसी divine intervention से आता है, तो मेरी उस पे ownership थोड़ी है. And I want to be not required. I want to see the day where women say, I don't need anybody, I can just give birth by myself. I want to be not required. तो वो दिन इंशाल्लाह कभी आए.
Tapasya Abba, when for my 4th birth, when I said that I want to do it by myself, you did not even once made me feel that, like you were losing a client. You only made me feel good about my decision. Everybody else was still having doubts in me. That am I trying to save on money? Am I trying to be overconfident? What am I doing? Or do I not like you enough? There were all sort of assumptions that were coming in. But what I wanted to like not prove to anyone, it was just something that I really needed to do for myself. I Because there's nothing like it when you do it all by yourself, when you catch your own baby, when you have nobody else around you, no other authority figure or an expert, you know, because each person's presence makes a difference. So that was very important for me. And like you said, like you always keep saying that you birth as you live. I really agree with that. That um, and I just want to say how much I appreciate everything that you do. And we have all our wishes and duas and all our love with you. And I know that wherever you go, you're going to make this difference to everybody's lives. I still don't know the countless women that you have empowered with your work by just the way you think and the way you are. Alhamdulillah. And God bless your children and your whole family. Thank you for everything.
Now it's getting emotional. So with that, thank you so much for joining in, each and everyone, for being a part. Thank you so much. With this, we'll end the meeting. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rona naman, Rona mat.
So I stop the recording or just end the
Stop
meeting?
the recording. Stop the recording.
All right.